We have tried to adopt this technology. You'll hear people using the word adopt a lot. And I'm beginning to think that that's not the right word. What we should be doing is adapting to this technology.
Bryan, Peter, thank you so much for being here. To both of you, when you hear agentic era, what does that mean to you, especially in the context of sales and go-to-market teams?
I would say that for us right now, there's an extraordinary opportunity around digital labor. If you think about any large or even medium-sized sales team, there's so much that we leave on the table. There's so much that the customer experience that could be improved. And a lot of this is because we just lack the labor. We lack the people. We lack the kind of the biological capability to respond to every lead, to respond to every outcome. And so for us, there's an extraordinary customer experience that we can drive with these agentic moments. And we can really sort of up-level every company in every part of its sales process. And it's a really exciting time to be here.
Peter, I love the focus on sales and customer experience. If I look at starting with marketing, where we're seeing agentic really take hold, it's how do we actually make the marketers better, more effective? Which I think fundamentally, if you look at the same topic or same concept for sales and customer service, it allows for sellers, it allows for customer service agents to be that much more authentic and complete and knowing the customer in order to better serve them. I think the other piece that comes to mind is, as we think about go-to-market organizations across marketing, sales, and services, the fundamental shift in both the mindset and the operating model. Right, the mindset that I can now interact with and work with this data and this agent in a way like what ChatGPT did, that allows people to now interact, voice, text, right, typing in your computer. It traverses so many experiences now. And I think the other is, how is that going to implicate parts of the operating model, especially for sales, because it's not going to take the place of sales, but it's going to harness other parts of the value chain that sales rely on to get ready for a customer meeting.
One other thing I would add on to what you're saying, which is one of the things we're finding is that a lot of selling processes are kind of squishy. Of all of the processes in an enterprise, sales seem to be the one that has the least amount of science to it. And so there's a lot of menial tasks that sellers end up having to do, a lot of kind of like interrupt-driven type tasks that take them away from the core of what they're trying to achieve. And so what I'm seeing in some of the early customers is that there's a significant employee kind of benefit around moving from menial type tasks into meaningful type tasks. And so a lot of this is around human potential, getting the best out of the humans that you said, getting them to actually enjoy their jobs. Because I know for a fact that a really well-motivated sales team, marketing team, service team, they're going to do a hell of a lot better than those who are stuck in the drudgery of work. And so if we can lift and elevate people's purpose, there's a huge unlock opportunity for every company there in this agentic operating era.
What I think about when you said that is, I think of activities for sellers as value waste, value neutral, value add. Reps only want to deal with the value neutral and value add activities. All value waste, the administrivia, they want off their plate. They want something to help them. But I think of the frozen core and high performers. We know high performers most likely don't need agents to be successful, but you absolutely want to give them agents to hyper drive their sales targets and achievement. But that frozen core, the ability to unlock that core and move it up fundamentally can change the trajectory of an organization's growth story. So I love the ability of how do you give these people that are performers more science, less art.
Peter, how are operating models evolving to support collaboration between digital agents and human talent?
Great question. So I think we have this really unlock moment with this technology. And what I've seen in many of these kind of sales, marketing, and service use cases is that the top performers accelerate using the technology. They're kind of like the first early adopters. They're the smart kind of folks who realize, if I just apply this little piece of technology into my workflow, I'm going to have my answer before anyone else. I'm going to be faster out of the blocks as a sprinter into the deal, because time kills all deals. Time kills all opportunity. And so what I've noticed is that the new starters, the folks coming into the workforce, the folks who are new to the environment, those folks are really good at pattern matching and watching the great sellers, the great servicers, the great marketeers. And so what they're really good at is copying. And so what I've noticed is that if we insert into the sort of the workflow this capability, we're getting a lot of people following behind. So the operating model doesn't necessarily have to change too much. What I would say is that this technology is much about humans, and observing humans is about implementing technology. This is not about an information technology installation. It's about an organizational transformation. And I think we sometimes get stuck in the technology a bit too much. We got to go back and look at the first principles of the human usage of these technologies.
Bryan, where are you seeing organizations getting stuck or even getting it wrong?
So I think there's 2 or 3 things that we're fundamentally seeing. I think one is organizations are pushing out a ton of pilots. They're going very wide. And I always think that if you can find a discrete process, not parts of it, but a discrete process, and then go incredibly deep across the data, the analytics, the automation that's required to power that process, you're going to find greater adoption. So don't go wide, go thin, complete a process and go deep. I think the second thing is focus matters. We're seeing in so many investments that are board level, the people who are meant to turn this on for the end user are being asked to do 3 or 4 different things at the same time. Being agentic led requires full focus. There's so many things that we're learning, and focus is required, and they're getting stuck because they're saying, well, I focused on 2 other things, and focus matters. I think the third thing is we're seeing organizations identify value potential, and value potential versus a very discrete value case is always going to be important because that helps drive the focus. It helps identify the process area and helps you go deep into the things required to unlock it.
I'll only add the following. In our research we've been doing with customers over the last, say, 14, 15 months, is that we saw last year was very much around, the experimentation, trying to understand what this technology does. And we were all assuming that this year would be the year of implementation. But we're finding that there's bumps along the way, exactly what Bryan was talking about, especially your last point around understanding the true value of this and understanding the business applicability. So here's my insight that I've taken away from the last year. We have tried to adopt this technology. You'll hear people using the word adopt a lot. And I'm beginning to think that that's not the right word. What we should be doing is adapting to this technology. We need to look at how our business processes are organized, how our teams collaborate, how our companies are organized. And one of the things that came out of even the session this morning with the customer was we have an annual human cycle in companies of budgeting and organizing and hiring and doing all the changes, but we've got a technology life cycle that's now measured in weeks, days, and the 2 are no longer compatible. And so our ability to adapt to that massive speed cycle is now the challenge for every leader out there to make these technologies pay off the promise that we've all been hearing we can get.
Peter, Bryan, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.